Hello everyone. Today we will make an assessment of John Dryden's definition of drama. In his essay, an essay on dramatic poesy. In this essay, he defined drama, and here we assess his definition of drama, and we can see that his definition of drama includes nature and functions of poetry. In this definition of drama, as we have seen that he includes nature and function of poetry. So he describes theory of poetic imitation. We have done or discussed theory of poetic imitation in Aristotle, and here we will see something about this theory of poetic imitation. In his definition of drama, Dryden stresses on liveliness rather than on justness. Throughout the essay of dramatic poesy, Dryden treats drama as a form of imaginative literature, and hence his remarks on drama apply to poetry as well. The very definition of a play given in beginning is expressive of his view of poetry. Dryden defined drama as a just and lively image of human nature. Drama is a creative image of human nature, according to Dryden. Drama represents passion and humor of human life, and it changes the fortune to which it is subject for the delight and instruction of mankind. Drama changes the fortune of human nature or humor in order to delight and instruct to mankind. According to this definition, drama is an image of human nature, and that image is just as well as lively. By using the word just, Dryden seems to imply that literature imitates human actions. For Dryden, poetic imitation is different from an exact copy of reality, for the imitation is not only just, it is also lively. In, in the discussion of definition of drama, Dryden included the nature of poetic imitation. What is the theory of poetic imitation? We can discuss the nature of poetic imitation, how one can discuss poetic imitation. Further, the image not only to be just, it must also be lively, while David Deches takes lively to be interesting. This is the antithesis to dull images or dull creations. These are lively, not dull. And here, lively to mean beautiful and so delightful. The poet is a maker or creator, and he aims at making something more beautiful. Poet makes something more beautiful from what he sees or he perceives. He says the poet does not leave things as he finds them, but handles them, treats them. He he recreates them. Poet perceives things and alters them with the use of his imagination. Poet heightens the quality of the objects he perceives and so creates something that is beautiful and his own. He creates something original from what he sees. Now, in his definition of drama, Dryden reveals the role of imagination in the creation of poetry. And when we see the poetic imitation, then we find that poetry is the imitation of human life, and in this poetic imitation, Imagination plays its role in the creation of poetry. In poetry, there is not only reproduction of reality, but the poet has imagination, and this imagination has the shaping power to recreate things, and this shaping power gives the shape to the production of the brain. The poet selects, rearranges his material, and gives a more height and a more beautiful version of reality. Composing poetry is not his imitation but imaginative creation that Dryden means just and lively image of human nature. So, imitation is not mechanical, it is organic, and it is a lively image of human nature. And in making the poetry lively, imagination plays its role. What are the functions of poetry? The functions of poetry is not only to delight us but also instruct. Elsewhere in his essay, Dramatic Poesy, he writes, delight is the chief, not the only end of poetry. Instruction can be admitted, but in the second place for poetry, only instructions as it delights. The function of poetry is not only to instruct but also delight. And delight or to give pleasure to reader is the chief aim of poetry or the chief function of poetry. It is true that to imitate well as a poet's work, but to affect the soul and excite the patient, and above all to move admiration, imitation will not serve. So, imagination combines with imitation in order to create a thing that is useful to make to give pleasure and instruction to mankind. Thus, it becomes clear that a bare imitation will not serve the ends of poetry, which are to instruct and delight. Means, poetry is not only an imitation, and poetry instructs as it delights. Instruction is secondary, and delight is the first. So we can say that the primary function of poetry is to delight the soul of human. In this way, in emphasizing the delight of poetry, Dryden is far in advance of his age, in which instruction was regarded as the chief aim of poetry. In all, we can see that Dryden's concept of poetic imitation is not slavish copying of nature. Representation is not imitation. We cannot say that poetry is only a copy of the things that are present in nature, or not only the servile copy of human nature, but that are creative things. Representation is not imitation. Poetry represents human nature, for it is the work of a poet, maker, or creator is concerned, it is to produce something that is beautiful. No realistic of naturalistic doctrine could have satisfied Dryden, for on his presupposition that the artist is concerned with the beautiful and with producing pleasure through the medium of beauty. He cannot be interested in the representation of life just because it is life, but only in the representation of life so far as it is beautiful. According to Dryden, an artist aims at making something more beautiful than life. It is only such a making that can enable poetry to perform the function proper to it.